Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets midseason, but after getting eliminated in the second round by the Denver Nuggets, new governor Matt Ishbia decided to make a change. Williams leads with 194 wins, 115 losses, and an NBA Finals appearance in 2021 in 4 seasons coaching the Phoenix Suns. Let's bring in our CBS Sports NBA analyst. There he is, Avery Johnson, former coach of the year as well, and also NBA champion there. Avery, let's get your thoughts here, your reaction to Monty Williams being fired after 4 seasons with the Phoenix Suns, also leading them to the NBA title or the NBA Finals just a couple of seasons ago.
Well, on a personal note, I've seen this movie before, Larry. In 2006, I led the Mavericks to the NBA Finals. The next year, we had the 6th best record in NBA history. Dirk Nowitzki was MVP. We got upset by Golden State Warriors in the first round, and then we lost in the second round the following year after making a trade for Jason Kidd and lost to the New Orleans Pelicans, and I got let go. This movie is not new. We have several coaches now, Mike Budenholzer, Frank Vogel, that have all won championships, and now Monty, who led the Phoenix Suns to the championship 2 years ago for the first time in 30 years and had an impressive record last year, getting upset in the 7th game of that series against the Mavericks, and now losing this year with Kevin Durant after making that trade. So I'm not really surprised because it's called the NBA and it's called No Babies Allowed. And sometimes coaches are able to survive a lot longer. But Monty has nothing to real put his head down about. He did a really magnificent job in Phoenix, but you got a new ownership group coming in, and that new ownership group obviously didn't like what they saw at the end of the season, and they decided to make a change.
Avery, you talked about these older coaches, these former coaches here. We saw Nick Nurse won it in 2019, Vogel 2020 in the bubble, Bud won it in 2021, Kerr last year in 2022. Kerr's still the only coach that's coaching his team right now. All 3 of those coaches, those previous coaches I mentioned, they've been let go. You look at Monty Williams, these playoff losses here, last couple of years, a couple of nights ago to the Denver Nuggets, 25-point loss at home. A couple of years ago or just last year to Dallas, 33-point loss, game 7 at home. How big were those home losses there at home on their home floor into Monty Williams being let go?
Well, I'm sure it really resonated with this new ownership group, and I'm really curious to see where James Jones, the president who got promoted from GM, not only GM, but president of the Phoenix Suns, where is he in all of this? Because, he's been there with Monty from day one. So is this something that he wanted to do? Did he feel it was a disconnect? Or is this purely new ownership? Didn't like the look of the team at the end of the year, felt there was a disconnect. They want to move in a different direction and bring in their own guy. I've seen this happen on the collegiate level. I've seen it happen on the NBA level. It's not a good feeling right now for Monty Williams, but he has nothing really to put his head down about. But this is the NBA, and this is not something that's a shock to the system. We've seen this movie before.
NFL, not for long. NBA, as Avery said, no babies allowed. Absolutely a true word spoken there by Avery Johnson. All right, Avery, a very attractive job here. You got KD, a former Finals MVP, also an MVP. You got Devin Booker, a rising star, top 10, top 15 type player there. How attractive of a job is this for Phoenix in the Valley of the Sun? And also, any names that you might see or hear out there, Avery, that might have an inside track on this job here?
Yeah, this is a very attractive job. Even though Kevin Durant's 35, but you got that young stud in Devin Booker. They'll figure out with CP3, I think half of his contract is guaranteed. Their bench, I don't think they had a lot of confidence in their bench at the end of the year. So they got to beef up their bench. DeAndre Ayton is probably the biggest question mark. What do you do there? Is a new coach going to be able to help him reach his maximum potential? Do you trade him and try to bring in 2 or 3 different assets for him? So I think in that situation, this is a great job. I mean, you're in Scottsdale, you're in Phoenix. This is a wonderful opportunity. There are a lot of coaches, some of whom we've already named, the Mike Budenholzers, the Nick Nurse, the Frank Vogels. You can include a guy like Popeye Jones, who's on the Denver Nuggets staff. and now they're in the Western Conference Finals. You got a plethora of guys out there that could take over this job, probably similar to what Darvin Ham is doing in Los Angeles. So this would be a very attractive job for any of these former head coaches, current assistant coaches that are looking to take that next step.
Yeah, Matt Ishbia, new owner there with the Phoenix Suns, ready to make a splash here. He got KD, and you talked about their assets. Maybe this is an opportunity to get back some of those draft picks that they lost, trying to get players like KD. So this is an opportunity for the Phoenix Suns, a very attractive job. Had the NBA's best record last season when they won 64 games, went 64-18 after the 2022 season. All right, Avery, have a good weekend. He is our CBS Sports NBA analyst, Avery Johnson, former Coach of the Year and NBA champion. Suns playoff exits under Monty Williams, struggleville for Phoenix Suns. Last couple of years, last few years here, a couple of nights ago, Thursday night, lost the Game 6 to the Nuggets by 25 points at home there. Booker and KD did not play well. The bench, one of the worst benches in the playoffs, if I believe, the second worst bench points in these playoffs for playoff teams. 2022 Western Conference semifinals, Game 7 there at home. Luka and the Mavs got them big time by 33. And then, of course, we remember they're acquiring KD, Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets mid-season. But after getting eliminated in the second round by the Nuggets, new old governor Matt Ishbia decided to make a change. Williams leaves after 4 seasons with the Suns. Had a record of 194 and 115. Let's go ahead and bring in our CBS Sports NBA insider. There he is, Bill Ryder. And Bill, your reaction here. Monty Williams, after 4 seasons there, took the Suns to an NBA Finals back in 2021. But I guess it's those last couple of years there, a big loss at home to the Dallas Mavericks last year, a 33-point home loss. And then, of course, this season to the Denver Nuggets, a 25-point loss. How much did that play into this and Monty Williams being shown the door by the Suns?
Yeah, Larry, my understanding of the conversations that I had the last few days and the text messages I'm trying to get out and get back in the last few minutes is that's more, I think, of an excuse for a change that ownership wanted to make. Obviously, Matt Ishbia took this team over not that long ago. We saw Isaiah Thomas, the Hall of Famer, sitting next to him at some of those games. As I understand it from sources, Isaiah Thomas will be heavily involved in one way or another in directing this organization. And we know in any business, our business, sports business, the NBA, anything, when there's a change of ownership, when there's a change of bosses, when there's a change of leadership, they often want their own people and to bring in their own folks. And I think Monty Williams is just the victim of that reality, and those losses and that playoff loss gave this front office and this new ownership group, I think, the excuse and the opportunity to make the change they probably wanted to make all along.
Yeah, you look at Matt Ishbia, of course, played at Michigan State. We saw the sort of interaction they had there with the Joker during the playoffs with holding the ball and things of that nature. What do you think his philosophy is, and why would he make a change like this? I know new owners want to make a change, but what is he trying to get here? Is it just because they got KD and they feel like maybe they need a new voice there in the Valley of the Sun?
Yeah, I don't know enough about Ishbia yet and his tenure being so short to tell you what his philosophy is. But he's been pretty vocal. And you're right, there's the Jokic moment, just some of his interviews and his conversations with the press. He's been pretty upfront that he's going to be very, very involved. And again, it is very natural for people, especially billionaires, but even people who aren't billionaires, who are used to running things, to want to run things with their own coach and their own folks. I mean, I honestly, Larry, I heard a week or two ago just some scuttlebutt that this was a possibility. And you hear rumors all the time in my position, talking to folks around the NBA. I didn't believe it. I mean, it made sense. I understand these things happen, but I thought, man, Monty Williams, two-time Coach of the Year, believe he has the best coaching record in the NBA over the last couple years. He's really, really well respected and really beloved, not by DeAndre Ayton, but by most of the people that are in that organization, in that locker room. And so, but it turned out it was true. And I think this is not about a philosophical disagreement. I don't think Ishbia looked at Monty Williams and said, oh, I want something different. I think Ishbia looked at this and said, I want my own person. And again, he has surrounded himself with different people. Isaiah Thomas, obviously a Hall of Famer, former GM, former coach, has had a spotty track record, but I think has done a pretty nice job in those situations at times, despite the narrative now. I know sources tell me that some of Isaiah Thomas's people have already been brought into the front office kind of quietly. So you have a new group of people who are starting to take over. Obviously, James Jones is still there, but I think this is directed by Ishbia. I don't think it's a philosophical paradigm shift. I think it's a guy who's got a bunch of money that bought a team that wants to do things his way and probably believes that he can bring in somebody better than the last regime.
Bill, we live in an instant coffee sort of world here, instant coffee generation here. What have you done for me lately? We saw Bud get fired by the Milwaukee Bucks after winning a title a couple years ago, beat Monty Williams and those Phoenix Suns, came back and won the last 4 games in 2021. How much did that sort of play into this sort of narrative that, hey, it's about what you've done lately? And for Monty Williams, there hasn't been a lot lately for the Phoenix Suns with the roster that they have constructed there.
It's a lot of it. And look, I don't know because I have not heard back from sources. I don't know who Phoenix is targeting. I don't know. But to your point, I mean, Mike Budenholzer has won an NBA championship. Nick Nurse, who's available, has won